The Broken Ladder: Why Education Alone Won't Build Your Legacy. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Chelsa Crawford, a visionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand legacy building in the face of seemingly immovable barriers. Chelsa isn't just a thought leader, she's a path creator who has helped thousands of marginalized professionals reclaim their power in spaces designed to exclude them. Her groundbreaking insights into entrepreneurship, leadership, and sustainable success have created ripple effects of transformation across communities nationwide. When systems said no, Chelsea taught people how to build their own yes. Her dedication to speaking truth to power while empowering others makes her one of the most important voices of our generation. Someone who doesn't just talk about change, but architects it. Today, I want to share with you some profound insights from our conversation that challenge everything we think we know about success, opportunity, and creating lasting impact. Let me start with something that might surprise you. Black women are the most educated demographic in America. This is not an opinion or a hopeful projection, it's statistical fact. Yet this remarkable achievement has not translated into equitable leadership opportunities or fair compensation. Think about that for a moment. The group with the highest educational attainment faces some of the steepest barriers to advancement. We've been told a story our entire lives. The story goes something like this: get an education, work hard, climb the ladder, success will follow. But what happens when the story is incomplete? What happens when the ladder has missing rungs? Or worse, what if there's no ladder at all? This is the reality that countless highly qualified professionals confront every day. And it challenges one of our most cherished cultural narratives that education alone guarantees access and success. The data tells a different story, a story where new pathways must be forged, where legacy building often requires creating entirely new structures rather than relying on existing ones. Consider this striking development. Between 2017 and 2024, the number of Black women owned businesses surged by over 40%, making this demographic one of the fastest growing segments in American entrepreneurship. Today, nearly 2.7 million US businesses are owned by Black women. This explosive growth didn't happen because traditional paths were suddenly flung open. It happened precisely because those paths remained stubbornly closed. I want you to imagine Maria, a brilliant woman with two master's degrees who spent a decade watching less qualified colleagues get promoted above her. She applied for six executive positions at her company, bringing impressive credentials and innovative ideas to each interview. Six times she was passed over. The last rejection came with troubling feedback. You're just not a cultural fit for leadership. That night, sitting at her kitchen table, she made a decision that would change everything. She wasn't going to keep knocking on doors that were designed to stay closed to people like her. Instead, she would build her own door, her own company, where culture wouldn't be weaponized against talent. Today, Maria's firm employs 27 people, most of whom face similar barriers in traditional workplaces. They're not just surviving, they're thriving, creating solutions their former employers couldn't imagine. This brings me to the first key insight from my conversation with Chelsa Crawford. Legacy isn't guaranteed by credentials alone. Even as the most educated group in America, Black women still face entrenched obstacles that require extraordinary self determination and innovation to overcome. The credentials are there, the qualifications are there, the capabilities are unquestionable, but the doors remain closed. Let's look at leadership representation. As recently as late 2023, only about 4% of C suite executives at major US companies were Black women. 4%, despite their high levels of academic achievement, despite their proven capabilities. Many began their careers aiming for executive roles only to encounter repeated barriers, glass ceilings reinforced with racial bias, limited mentorship opportunities, and organizational cultures resistant to meaningful change. What's remarkable isn't just the persistence of these barriers, it's the response to them. Rather than waiting for incremental change inside established firms, many have launched professional networks focused on peer mentoring. They've founded companies where they can set inclusive cultures from day one. They've helped redefine leadership beyond corporate titles alone, inspiring others through example rather than permission. This leads to our second key insight: entrepreneurship as empowerment. When traditional paths to advancement are blocked, creating your own path becomes not just an option, but a necessity, a form of resistance, a declaration of worth. The entrepreneurial surge we're witnessing isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening against the backdrop of a gender pay gap that remains stubbornly wide, with Black women facing some of its harshest realities. Consider this. In May 2025, comprehensive data analyses across industries showed that despite decades of advocacy, little movement has occurred since early 2000 S benchmarks. A mere 4-cent improvement over 2 decades. A Black woman with the same qualifications as her white male counterpart still earns dramatically less. For every dollar he makes, she earns just 63 cents. Behind these statistics are real lives, real dreams deferred, real talent undervalued. I think about Denise, who discovered that her white male colleague, hired 3 months after her with less experience, was making $22,000 more annually for the same work. When she raised the issue, she was told the discrepancy reflected market factors. Those two words changed her life trajectory. She left to start her own consulting firm where compensation would be transparent and equitable. 5 years later, her business is revolutionizing how entire industries approach talent valuation. This persistent inequity hasn't led to resignation. It has spurred greater entrepreneurial activity among those affected. It has fueled determination to build something new, something better. This brings us to perhaps the most counterintuitive insight from my conversation with Chelsa Crawford. Balance is essential for sustainable legacy. We live in a culture that glorifies the hustle, that celebrates the grind, that equates success with exhaustion. But building a legacy demands more than relentless work. Without intentional focus on balance, personally and professionally, even hard won progress can slowly unravel. The entrepreneurs who are redefining success understand something profound: sustainability matters. A business that burns out its founder cannot fulfill its mission. A movement that exhausts its leaders cannot achieve lasting change. This isn't about working less hard, it's about working more wisely. It's about recognizing that rest is not the enemy of productivity, it's its prerequisite. That boundaries aren't obstacles to achievement, they're its foundation. What's truly revolutionary about this approach is how it challenges our fundamental assumptions about success. We've been conditioned to believe that achievement requires sacrifice, that impact demands imbalance, that legacy building means life depleting. But what if the opposite is true? What if sustainable impact requires sustainable practices? What if the most enduring legacies are built by those who understand that their well being is not separate from their work, but essential to it? The entrepreneurs who are thriving despite systemic barriers aren't just building businesses, they're building new models of success. Models that integrate personal fulfillment with professional achievement. Models that recognize community impact. as a measure of success alongside profit margins. They're redefining what leadership looks like for future generations and contributing significantly to local economies through job creation. They're demonstrating that when traditional systems fail, innovation flourishes. This isn't just inspiring, it's instructive. It offers lessons for all of us, regardless of our background or industry. First, credentials matter, but they're not enough. Education opens doors, but it doesn't guarantee they'll stay open. Building a legacy often requires creating new doors entirely. Second, entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about creating systems that reflect your values. When existing structures don't serve you, building your own becomes an act of both self preservation and cultural transformation. Third, sustainable success requires sustainable practices. The most enduring legacies aren't built through burnout, they're built through strategic balance. These insights challenge us to reconsider our definitions of success, to question our assumptions about achievement, to reimagine what legacy building looks like in practice. The story we've been told about success is incomplete. The ladder we've been promised often has missing rungs, and sometimes there's no ladder at all. But that doesn't mean advancement is impossible. It means we need new metaphors, new models, new ways of thinking about achievement and impact. Perhaps instead of a ladder, we need to envision success as a garden, something we cultivate over time that requires both active tending and periods of rest, that produces not just for ourselves, but for our communities. So, where do we go from here? What does this mean for you right now, today? It means recognizing that if the system isn't working for you, you're not the problem. The system is. It means understanding that sometimes the most revolutionary act is to stop playing by rules designed for you to lose. It means having the courage to create new pathways when existing ones prove insufficient. I challenge you to examine the structures you participate in. Are they serving your highest aspirations? Are they aligned with your deepest values? If not, what would it look like to build alternatives? This isn't about abandoning all institutions. It's about refusing to accept exclusion as inevitable. It's about having the audacity to create spaces where everyone's talents can flourish. It's about understanding that true legacy isn't measured by how high you climb someone else's ladder, but by how many people find opportunity on the paths you create. The most powerful legacy you can leave isn't just what you achieve, it's what you transform, what you make possible for others, the doors you open that were once closed to you. Today, I invite you to join the revolution of path creators, to stop waiting for permission to lead, to start building the world you want to see, not someday, but now. Because when the ladder is broken, we don't just sit at the bottom and wait. We build something better, something stronger, something that can hold not just our weight, but the weight of generations to come. Thank you